Can I heal the world real quick with an unpopular take? This may be the most unpopular take I've ever had. Maybe even more unpopular than banana splitters should be thrown in prison, which was a pretty popular one, or a pretty unpopular one. What is this take? Let me just get out the Coke Zero burp first so you know how serious I am. I'm just going to be honest. It was more than I expected. I kind of thought it was going to be like, brr, but it was substantially worse than I thought. And you did it into the mic? Well, that's what's crazy is that it actually was not into the mic. That should illustrate for you how loud it was. That was just, you're getting the echo off of the wall. Okay, is this the post that I saw this morning? It is. Okay, here's my take, okay? The thesis for my statement, I hope you're ready for this one because it is a whopper. You are not going to enjoy what I'm about to say. Thesis statement. We as younger people should be at least a little bit nicer to boomers. I said it, okay? Now, what led me to this statement? While I was defecating this morning, I saw a thread on Reddit. Now, I'll admit it's on r/millennials. It must have surfaced on my homepage because there's no shot I'm ever following that subreddit. Title, Millennials feel abandoned by parents not available to help raise their grandkids. Quote, they're too busy. Some millennial parents say they feel abandoned by their baby boomer parents who have chosen to travel in their retirement rather than stay home and help raise their grandchildren. This thread has radicalized me. I'm going to move to the woods. I'm going to start a tribe where it takes a village to raise a child. We're not being nice to each other anymore. Something is broken down in society. Listen to these comments, bro. I moved a lot for a job in my 20s, blah, 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 blah. We had a kid. That's not blah, blah to be rude. My parents pressured me to have a kid. They made promises of, oh, we'll come in and help you so you get some time to decompress, go home and shower, get a meal on your birthday. Not once did they show, no calls, no texts on big holidays, nothing. Thanksgiving, they sent a text saying they put Thanksgiving dinner in a cooler for me to grab off the back porch, etc., etc. Once my son was out of the hospital, I sold my house with the quickness and moved the state over to be with family who drove 4 hours to come give us support. Never expected this is a next comment. I never expected my parents to be free daycare, but they got so much help from their parents. It did next to nothing in comparison to help their kids. I suspect many people feel the same way. The hard part is grandparents not helping but posting their pics on social media. Most baby boomers and Gen X couldn't be bothered to raise their own kids. Of course, they're not going to help raise grandkids. Next one. The me first generation doesn't want to help anyone else. Gasp. Okay, we'll just collapse this comment real quick. Oh, I've accidentally opened their profile. Our parents had a village to help raise us. Then they went and burned it down after they benefited from it and left us to sift through the rubble. Listen, brother, can we cool it on the dramatics at least just a little bit? I think this thread has made me pro-boomer. Like the top 17, 30, 50 comments are all people saying like everybody over the age of 55 is responsible for all the ills of the world today. And in a large demographic sense, I can definitely understand that. Because if you're 27 and you look around the world and you're like, I don't like it, you didn't really have a hand in creating that. Those seeds for that were planted in 1806 and then watered throughout the 19th century and then germinated throughout the 21st or the 20th and the 21st century, right? That being said, I think, am I crazy to think that this is a psyop? I know a lot of people that are... I'm trying to encapsulate this. These are people who had bad experiences with their parents, and that's fine. But I think that me, and maybe my experience is not the average, but I'm like, my parents were very nice to me. We don't agree on everything. Their friends seem cool. When I interface with, 60-year-olds at the grocery store, for the most part, it's not like r/Walmart freakout where they're crapping their pants and then yelling at everybody in the store. I feel like all these uh, Karen freakout videos are creating this world where, like, we as millennials and Gen Z have to realize that not every 60-year-old person is our enemy. Come on, we could do it. We can heal society together. We can be the change we want to see in the world. Eventually I got to a comment that restored sanity to me. It was like a healing balm, not Oppenheimer, like Blistex. But there were some that, like, they blew me away. I think if you're a normal person, you need to learn the lesson from me to not read comments from insane people. Why would anyone want boomers around their children? I told my abusive parents to frick off for good as soon as I had my kid. I don't need free daycare from blank a-holes who fricked me up. I'd rather quit my job and live in it. Okay, your kids suck, okay? Or your parents suck. Your kids are probably fine for now. But, like, come on, man. You can't be reading that stuff as a normal person. You'll be out there thinking, yeah, every 62-year-old person's an asshole. No, they're insane. Their parents are insane. I'm trying to find the comment that saved my life. There we go. Okay. Some people out here have shitty parents. My boomer parents sure did. They didn't get any help raising me. They barely raised their own kids. But how are these anecdotes of personal selfishness supposed to condemn an entire generation? Why are they any more or less valid than the stories you hear of grandparents raising abandoned kids in Appalachia because mom and dad are zombies? I'm going to paraphrase their wording. And like some of these, I'm like, we'll just scroll past. It's Reddit. It's a little bit verbose. These stories are just tabloid clickbait garbage to confirm a narrative of generational conflict that everyone's believed in since at least ancient Greece to distract us from the class conflict that immiserates us all. Thank you. That's what I'm talking about. Listen. I don't think the average boomer is your enemy. I'm not saying we have to venerate the boomers and say, like, you're the greatest generation. But we, on a micro level, we have to be nicer to older people. I say that myself, even though I do get irritated when I'm driving around them. We should be nicer to them. They were, for the most part, no individual is responsible. None of them, at least, are responsible individually for the world that we live in. They went through the same stuff that we're going through. Maybe, with a little bit less headwind, if we're being honest. And they were just doing their best, They were working 40 hours a week at the typing factory or whatever they were doing. They were cooking dinner for their kids. They were driving them to soccer practice. And they were throwing their styrofoam containers out of the window of their car. But they didn't know better, man. It's equivalent exchange. I set up their printers and they fixed my sink. That's what I'm saying, man. They killed the turtles with their straws? Fuck you, I killed the turtles with my straws. I was using that shit for 32 years. I'm just saying, especially millennials, we have to be careful, okay? I'm not saying we need to make like a Big Brother Survivor style alliance here. All I'm saying is if me at age 35 is like, yeah, fuck the boomers, they ruined the world. All our problems are shit that they're responsible for. Eventually, like, my ass is going to be 70. And we're still going to have problems. And fucking 22-year-olds online are going to be like, fuck the millennials, they ruin the world. And I'm going to be like, I was just minding my own business, man. We inherited climate change on an already doomed planet. And then we had to go through the housing crisis and inflation. And you weren't there during the global pandemic. You don't know what it's like, man. And they'll be like, yeah, but you voted for Stephen Harper. And I'll be like, no, the fuck, I didn't. And they'll be like, yeah, all your friends did. And I'll be like, what'd you say fuck me for? Your ass giving me the middle finger just because I got a gray goatee. I was out there being like mostly kind of cool. Maybe not the best ever, but kind of cool. What you don't see is that there's probably equally annoying parent praise comment sections out there. With all due respect, I don't have the data to back this up, but have you ever been on the internet? It's the lineup of the two booths. One of them is like trauma dumping. The other one is like, stories about my well-adjusted upbringing. Nobody's lined up to hear about how, your parents cook dinner for you literally every night. And like, you never had to drive your dad home at age 12 because like he was drunk, Nobody wants to hear that story. Oh, you got picked up from school on time every day, went home and played video games in like a safe environment that was supportive. Save that shit for the office, man. Plus, they're probably spending time with their parents. I went into this thread being like, this is true, I do. I'm a little annoyed sometimes. Maybe this is not fair. I was going to say I'm a little annoyed with my in-laws sometimes because they live like 35 minutes away and they don't see their grandkid that much. And meanwhile, our in-law or our like sister-in-law, brother-in-law live like 3 hours away, and we make an effort to see them. They make an effort to see us. Then I left this thread like, I'm gonna buy my mother-in-law and father-in-law like a fucking cake or something like that. I'm gonna be like, you're probably getting shit on nonstop. You went through some hard stuff in your life too. Listen, I'm not saying like you get a participation trophy because I know your generation is like allergic to praise like that. But at the same time, here, I see you. What kind of cake? It'll be from a Korean bakery. So I'm just going to tell you straight up, it's not going to be my tempo. It's going to be like very, very fluffy, and it's going to have a staggering amount of icing on it. And the candles are going to be really, really tall. Really, really, really tall. I don't know why the candles are... It's good because it means that they don't melt so much wax onto the cake, but it's going to look like Joe Biden's birthday cake. Anyway, I'm just saying we could be a little bit nicer to the average 62-year-old. I think I'm kind of realizing that, like, you know that comic that is like the dude with his hands in his pocket who's like, oh, look at that jerk. And then it's just a dude in a baseball cap whistling. I'm realizing that the internet has done that to us. There's people out there that are just, whistling to themselves on the way to the grocery store to pick up like eggs. And then people see them and just out of nowhere, they're like, I fucking hate you. I bet you love oil, motherfucker. Thanks for starting the Exxon Valdez Corporation. I was a park ranger. Yeah, well, you didn't stop it, Grandpa, so that's complicity as far as I'm concerned. I agree, except when I'm driving. Most sane ageist take. I'm not afraid to say it. Maybe one day this clip will surface and I'll get canceled for it. That being said, I do want to say when I say old people suck at driving, I don't mean 60-year-old people. I mean 70-year-old people. 60-year-old people, largely, for the most part, still seem pretty okay. Once they get a little older than that, that's where it gets scary. My dad's 74. He takes like 10 minutes to back out of the driveway. Heart emoji. Here's the thing, though. They shouldn't be driving, but at the same time, but whatever. It's General Motors' fault that they live in a concrete hellscape where they have to drive to the pharmacy, okay? Did you really defend boomers for the first 20 minutes of the stream? Yes. But all the takeaway at the end of it was that on an individual level, I think we should be nicer to our elders. Keep in mind that our anchor point as millennials and Gen Z on the internet is rude as hell. Like, I'm not saying like we're coming from a position of already being polite. Let's be even politer. I think we're coming from a position of like fairly like malevolent hatred, and we should back it off a little bit. Can we be rude to our youngers? Well, that's what the boomers did, which is why they have no alliances left on Earth, because when millennials were like 24, there were like endless articles about how we're like ruining society. But like I'm trying to break the cycle, I'm trying to break the cycle of generational hatred. I do hate on millennials more than any other generation, but I also feel like that's the natural order of things. You should be able to hate on your own generation more than any other generation because you know it better than anybody else. And here's the thing, I see that the one thing that annoys me about millennials is that they are constantly complaining about how boomers and Gen Z both make fun of them. But then I will admit, it's funny to see the cycle continue. Like, have you seen those first few videos trickle out of Gen Z hating on Gen Alpha because the kids are all into Skibidi toilet, and all the Gen Z kids who grew up watching The Good Place are like, this Skibidi toilet stuff doesn't make sense to me. Gen Alpha is literally 2 years old. I know, that's why I was surprised to see it so fast, bro. It really do be your own. You pop out of the womb, you already got haters these days. Like, the internet it's warped our minds. I don't want to go off on a rant here, but does anyone else think that Skibidi Toilet is just Five Nights at Freddy's 2? Messed up part, Matthew Lillard's going to star in the Skibidi Toilet movie. He's going to play cameraman. Skibidi Toilet will be played by Timothy Chalamet Jr. I love it when he becomes Mario. His name's Mario and he bounces on the shells. Some of these levels are hotter than the hells. And when he spins, he can survive a spiny shell. Mario, Rio, please do better, please do well.